Hi, everybody in 5th through 8th grade. Today, we have another computer class with Mr. Henderson, and we're going to be finishing a part 2 of what we did part 1 for an assignment last week, and it was that quote assignment that we started. Now, with this, it's a part 1 last week, but I didn't ask you to turn anything in. I actually requested that you didn't. And this week, we're going to be finishing and seeing how in the end we would go about sharing or turning in that assignment, and then having it be a complete piece. This is going to actually repeat for the next couple of weeks, where we go and do a part 1 and part 2 with a Google Slides, and a part 1 and a part 2 with a Google Sheets. So if you did not, for any reason, finish the project from last week, please go back and do so. And remember that with these tutorials, the way that I'm structuring the class is by having a video tutorial. You can watch it in one side of your screen in one window, and then do the work in the other screen on the other side. Or alternatively, you could go between tabs. You can pause, rewind, fast forward as much as you want. Go back and look at things if you happen to miss them. And that is really what I find best for people who, some people are able to go ahead very quickly and do the work along with what we're doing, and some people need to rewatch or get a little extra help, and that video makes it available to be able to do that. So, if I am signed in as a student to my student Google account, just like you guys should be, first thing I want to do is go and find the document that I worked on last week. Now, you would go to one of two places to do that, and it really doesn't matter which. You have Google Docs in the app browser right here, and Google Drive. Google Drive is what contains everything that you have uploaded or made or saved in Google or has been shared with you. And Google Docs is going to give you those same things, but only the ones that are in the Google Doc format. So if you made a slideshow, if you uploaded a picture or something else to your drive, that's not going to be in Google Docs. But whichever one of those you choose is going to work. So I'm going to go in my Google Docs right now. And very quickly, I can find that assignment that we worked on last week called Quote Assignment. If you have been in the school for quite a long time and many years, you may have many things here, but it should organize it by the most recent documents, and we can look a little bit more in the future into organizing things and making things easier to find. But I find my Quote Assignment right here, and that is the first thing that I want to get up by double-clicking on it and having that in one window, or one tab. Now, we're going to do a couple more things with this today, and we are also going to see ways that we can share it and turn it in, and go ahead and get started now. So, first, just in Google Docs, don't worry about any other tabs or anything. We're going to see how we can change a few things about this page's layout. Right now, Google defaults to having things be upright or a long ways from top to bottom, or what I refer to as portrait. Right? Portrait is this way. We want to switch it to landscape and also change another setting or two. So we're going to go to File up here in our menu bar. We're going to go to Page Setup. And here we can see a couple of features. Now, the paper size we're not going to change. If you were printing on legal size, or you needed to make something the size of an envelope or had a reason to, you could change that, but we don't today. The first thing that we're going to change is we're going to switch this to landscape, so that our page, it is long ways from left to right or in landscape mode. Also, for the margins, we don't want margins, which are the empty space that you can't really type or doing anything in around the edge of the page, and it defaults to 1-inch margins, which are great for a report, for typing a letter, typing an essay. For this project, though, I'm going to change these, and just so you know how to change them, to 1/2-inch margins. To change them to 1/2-inch margins, I'm just going to go to each box and type in 0.5. 0.5 is 1/2. If you make a mistake and forget that point and you type in 5, you're going to have a 5-inch margin. And that is going to be a very big, thick margin that will throw things off. And it should be pretty obvious to you that you made a mistake, and you just go back and fix that. You want each of them to say 0.5. And last but not least, you can change your page background color right now. Now, with everything to do with colors, I suggest that you think about going back. For instance, right now, I know I'm happy with the gradient green that's kind of light that I used. But if I start working with my fonts and colors and change this color now, and then I realize, you know, these colors really don't work well together. Some of the text is hard to see. Something about it I don't like, I'm not a fan of, I can always go back through the steps that we did before and change them. So for my background, I want to make it like a light gray color. Maybe this right here. I'm going to test it. And to be honest, I may decide in a second I don't like it. I may decide that I do. But I think that's about what I was looking for. That's about what I wanted, so I'm going to leave it. Now, we used our drawing tool last week to insert a drawing, and that's what let us put a shape with a color, a picture with writing on it, and text. If you remember, and I'm going to double click back just to show you, if you remember, that's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 separate elements, right, that we combine together, and you can only do that in a drawing tool. If you decide to add in a shape separately to your document, a picture separately, text separately, you'll quickly realize, oh wait, I can't make those things go over top of each other. I can't lay them out exactly like I might like. That can only be done in the drawing tab, and we have that inserted so that now, once it's in the document, the difference is it's now one image. Everything that we did is one image. You could go back and double click and go back and drawing and edit it, but now instead of 4 different separate elements, we are just working with one element, right? And here's what we want to do with that. The first thing is, I think it looks better if it's centered on the page. So I'm going to click on that, and just like you can do with text, you can use this tool right here, which is the alignment, and it's aligned to the left right now. I'm going to click to center it on the page, because I think that's how that picture looks best. Now, I want that picture, that photo, to be a good size. It's going to take up a lot of my page, but not my whole page. So I'm going to actually make it a little bit bigger, maybe about like that. And I like it. It's not taking up the whole page because you're going to see we're going to have text down here at the bottom. But it's taking up enough so that it is a big, dominant, easily seen, easily visible part of my page. Now, the next part is where we want to add some text down here at the bottom. We're going to add 1 sentence and 2 bullet points. If we click and our cursor, our flashing cursor where we're going to type is showing up after the picture, we want to use our enter or return key to go down 1 and 2. We want to go down 1 empty line and then to the next line underneath of the image where we're going to type. And it's still centered because that's where we put that alignment. I'm now going to make my alignment go to the left. So I'm going to go back to my alignment tool here, click on it so it starts on the left-hand side. That's where I want my text. And now I'm going to type in something from the biography page. If you finished last week and we used that site Brainy Quote, we really don't need to go back to that site at all, but I am going to have to use a tab and go back to biography.com. Now on biography.com, I'm going to ask you to do something that is pretty simple, and that is to get the main idea, main element that your politician, historical figure, celebrity, athlete is famous for, and write that in 1 sentence, and then 2 bullet points about them underneath that. And we're going to see how to do it, but this is the way I need you to think. Well, first we need to get back on the page to whoever you picked. So I'm going to go back onto the page for Albert Einstein. And I remember that I want to go to his person page right here, not the video or something specific about something he was involved in from history, but his main page for him as a figure. Now, for most of them that you would pick, see this first sentence right here that's set off by itself and it doesn't really have any category or heading above it? That is going to be the main thing about your historical figure. But, and here's what's something I'm hoping that you have learned in language arts, that you have practiced, that you're familiar with, but if not, you can still do it. We want to paraphrase this. We do not want to do a copy and paste. We did that for the quote. So with the quotes, it's in quotation marks. It's saying it's not our words, and it's word for word what that person said. It's quoted, and that's fine. I don't want to just copy and paste this because I don't want to quote this word for word. I don't want to take this from this source. What I want to do is read it and think of how to put it in my own words in one sentence. So it says, Albert Einstein was a physicist who developed the general theory of relativity. He is considered one of the most influential scientists of the 20th century. I take that information, and in my own mind, I think about it. I think about the wording. I think about the main point it was trying to say. And now I'm going to take what it says here and put it into my own words. Albert Einstein is best known for his work in physics that led him to be one of the most famous scientists. I'm going to put famous and influential scientists of all time. You want a quick side note here? Did you see how as I was typing, it's giving me suggestions? Famous and, look, it gives me the suggestion influential right here. And it just had a little pop-up to tell me that's Smart Compose. I just had a conversation with my own daughter about this the other day because she wanted to use it. She's in 4th grade. And she wanted to use it to basically do her typing for her. And I said, you know what? For adults, for people who have been through school, for people who know how to do this, as a time saver, because they know how to spell, they know how to write, as a time saver and to help them, for adults, that's a really great feature. For kids, for my own daughter, I don't suggest that we use it because you guys are still developing typing skills, writing skills, how to structure a sentence, which words to choose, how to spell. So you can see it there, but I am not going to teach to use it or suggest that you use it because I really think for kids in school, you should practice doing it on your own. But in any case, let me finish my sentence. Influential scientists in history. So I took what it said right here, thought about the main thing it was trying to say, and reworded it into my own words into one sentence right there. I am not looking, because this is computer class, this isn't language arts, I am not looking for you guys to do a project where you're writing 5 paragraphs for me, you're writing a book, but to get that basic skill of paraphrasing something that you read from a source and putting it into your own words is so important. And that one sentence I want you to attempt to do for your historical figure on your own. Now, after that, I'm going to enter once, and I'm going to start writing 2 specific facts about Albert Einstein. All right, so I could read through all of this. I already basically know, but for you guys, you're going to read through the article that it has on your historical figure, and you're going to now pick 2 things that are not like the most important general things about your person, but 2 more specific facts about him. So, or her. So I'm going to, for Albert Einstein, first I'm going to turn down that ad that's playing right now, and for Albert Einstein I'm going to pick 2 things. First, it talks about, right here, he worked on atomic energy. So again, I'm going to paraphrase what it says, and I'm going to say, instead of his work also had a major impact on the development of atomic energy, Einstein contributed greatly to the field of atomic energy. And then I'm going to press enter to go down another line. That's my one specific fact about him. And let me find one other. And I'm going to say right here, he also developed a passion for classical music and playing the violin. Another fact about Einstein, right? And I picked that one. You pick whatever you would like for your person. Hopefully something that you find interesting, something that you find notable, but a specific fact. So I'm going to take what it says right here. Again, he developed a passion for classical music and played the violin, and I'm going to reword it into my own words, called paraphrasing. Einstein learned to play the violin and loved classical music. Period. Notice, I put periods at the end of my sentences. I capitalized whatever needed to be capitalized. And now I have the one sentence that is the main general sentence about my historical figure, and then 2 specific details, and that's all I'm asking you to write or type. But we are going to do a little bit with it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate the 2 specific facts with bullet points. So I'm going to click to highlight those. I can start at the end, or I can start at the beginning here of my 2 specific facts. I'm going to highlight them, and then I'm going to go up to this drop-down box. Let me pick the right one. This one was for numbers, and my eyes went a little buggy for a second, so I picked that one. But the one right next to it is for a bulleted list. Remember, if you happen to not see that because your window is shrunk a little bit, look for these 3 dots to look for more tools. But I'm going to look for this little drop down right here with bullet points, and I could pick custom bullet points right here. If you would like to go ahead, it could give you a couple different styles, a couple different images. Maybe they could show up as stars, show up as boxes, but I just like them as standard bullet points for myself. So I'm going to click right on the button instead of the drop down, and we can see instantly it put those as bullet points. It sets them off. I also don't like how this is bunched together so closely. Now, you'll know some adults, some kids, maybe even yourself, who go and they try to separate lines and make more space between lines by using their return key, sometimes their space bar, which, oh my goodness, I am not a fan of that. There's a tool that will do that for you and will make it much better formatting for a paper, a document, or what we're doing right now. For all 3 of these lines, I now want to highlight them, and I want to go to my line spacing tool, which is right here. Alright, see how it has the arrow going up and down with the arrow at both ends, and then the lines by it. This is my line spacing tool. And I just clicked on the wrong one. My line spacing tool right now is set to 1.15. So there is a very tiny bit of space between each line, not much. I could make it less, make it single, but that's actually going the opposite way that I want. What I want is to make it 1.5 or double. And I'll let you pick, and I'll tell you, you might want to change it to make sure that everything fits on one page, because we want this to be a one-page document. So whichever you think looks better by the time you're done, and you might go back and make a change, 1.5 or double, I want you to use that to space those lines out a little bit, make them stand out. In a lot of formal papers in your life, when you get to middle school, to high school, you are going to have to double space in your typing when you type essays and paragraphs, and that would be double spaced. For this one, if you think 1.5 looks better, 1.5, that's fine. You could use either one. And now the last thing I'm going to do with this text is it's a little plain right now. I do not want to go use crazy fancy fonts. I want to use fonts that are a little more standard, but that make this stand out and look a little nicer. And it also increase my font size. So I'm going to use one font for my main idea about my historical figure, and I'm going to increase that font size to about a 16. I'm also going to change it from Arial, which is a very standard plain font, to something, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. I don't want to make this Lobster. Lobster would be good for just like a title at the beginning, right? But Lobster would not be good for like this full sentence. It's too much, right? So I want to pick something not like Cream Soda, not like Lobster, not like Pacifico, but something that I like that's a little more standard. Like I think I'm going to use Impact right there. And I like Impact. It gives it a little bit more to stand out. It changes that font around a little bit from a standard Arial, but it's still very readable. And I left that as a 16. And then for my 2 bullet points, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to increase their font size, maybe only to a 14 this time. And I'm going to make them something. I could use that Impact again. I think I'm going to use Georgia. Georgia, it's like if you had a scale of the fanciest, craziest fonts to the most boring and normal. Arial is pretty standard. Georgia is just a little step or 2 up from that. It's not like a wild font that's going to make it look really stylized and maybe even a little bit hard to read. Now, I like it, and I think I'm going to let that be finished there. I'm not going to make it bold or a different color. If you think that for yours, changing a color, changing a bold, or changing the font to bold or a different color would make sense and would work and makes yours look better, there is a little bit of personal choice there, and you can do that. And now I have one last thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to add another picture of Einstein. When we added the picture here to our drawing, we put it number 1 in a drawing, and I asked you to use a pretty standard portrait looking picture. This would be like a pretty standard portrait from about somebody's midsection up to the top of their head facing forward, nothing silly, cartoony. We're going to add in another picture down in this bottom right. But for that picture, we can add something that's a little different. I don't want it to be, crazy, silly, goofy, but we can go to another website to add that picture. And I'm going to use the one I recommend. I gave a whole talk about this when we did our lesson on adding pictures to a Google Doc. I'm going to use KidSearch. If in your household using Google Images and the Google image search right straight from Google is allowed, that is up to your household, but I'm going to suggest we go to kidsearch.com and I'm going to type in Albert Einstein. You would type in your historical figure, and I'm going to do a search that's first going to give me web results, right? A lot of websites, different places, but I want to switch that to images. And now I'm going to do an image search for Einstein and look for a picture I like. Now, as you scan through, you might see some that are your person, you might see some that are not, you might see some that are comical, like comic strip drawings or clip art. I happen to like, and I'm not going to look through for too long, but I already found one that I like I'm going to go back to, and it's this one here of him playing the violin. And I like that one. It also ties in with this fact that I had right there. But you find a picture that you like that relates to your historical figure and use one of those techniques that we talked about before to bring it into your Google Doc. And we're going to put it right down here on this right, which everybody should have as open space. Now look, mine didn't go in perfectly. I made a mistake or a slip of the mouse where I actually put it between my two facts, but that's okay. I could just click it and drag, bring it down, and now it went below it, but it made everything go on a separate page because this picture was a little too big. I'll think first, can I crop anything out? Well, no, I don't really want to because I like to see Einstein and him playing the violin, so I'm going to shrink it down from a corner handle, and I might have to give it a couple tries to make it just right to where it has everything fit on one page. Now, this is where we can use these tools right here, and it's the text wrapping and a combination of moving our picture plus the text wrapping to get it so that it doesn't separate any of that text that we we had so far, and that it can go off to the side. Now that it is, I can even increase it, I think, a little bit to right about there so that it can go off to the side. So what I did is I changed my text wrapping to wrap text. There's also the choice of inline, the choice of break text. If you were doing something in like the middle of a report or the middle of an article, some of the others may work, but for this one, wrap text worked the best because it didn't split up anything in my typing, in my text, that I wanted to stay there. Now, we are basically done, but we are going to do one last thing, and that is add in a link. In pretty much all of the Google apps that we use, whether it be slides, sheets, docs, whether it be something that we made in a Google drawing, whether it be something we do in a Jamboard, or the other apps that Google provides, some of which we haven't seen yet, almost every single one of them, maybe even every single one of them, gives you the option to link. And linking is so powerful. Just to give it like a really basic idea, linking is really what makes everything you do on the internet possible or work the way that it works, by linking one thing to another, to another, to another, providing links to click on, links to go to different sections of sites, different pictures in an image search, or really whatever you do online. It's all powered by linking, a really, really popular and powerful tool. So we're going to just do one link here, and I want to go back to my biography page on Albert Einstein, which is right here. I use my back button to get back. And I think everybody knows this, but a little tip was I held down on my back button because I knew I had to go a couple pages back, and by holding down on it I was able to look at a list instead of just clicking back, back, back and kind of guessing or waiting to see where it got me to. So now that I'm here, I want to copy and paste a link right here. This link for Albert Einstein's page. I'm on a Windows computer, so the way that would be easiest for me is to click on it one time, right click, and do a copy. If you're on a Chromebook, you might click, select that whole link, and then hold down your Alt key, A-L-T, and click on it to bring up that screen, or that menu rather, that does have copy in it. Or if you're more of one of those expert power users that is good with your keyboard shortcuts, you can do a Control-C right now. That's probably what I would do if I was doing it on my own or just for myself, is do a Control-C. Alright, so now back in my Google Doc, I want to take this original drawing that we made right here and click on it. Now I could do this with a word, with a section of text, with really anything I want, but we want to do it on our main image that we put at the top. And what we're going to do is go up to this little icon that's Insert Link. Click on it. And here, that same address that I took from this website for his biography, I want pasted here. And again, to do this, you could go File, Paste, or excuse me, let's start this whole thing over, Edit again. Restart now. Alright, so back in my Google Doc, I want to add in a link. Now this link could be on a word or a sentence, it could be on a picture, it could really be on anything that you want. We're going to add this link to our main picture that we made through the Google drawing at the top. And we want to select it first. Click on it, make sure that the blue border and handles show up to know that it's selected. And then I want to click this button right here that says Insert Link. And this is where that web address that I took from the last page goes in. If any of the steps that I gave, you had something happen, something go wrong, a problem with, just pause, back yourself up, and try again. For instance, if you go to paste in this link now, and it does not work, it does not paste what you thought it was going to paste, just erase it, go back, and do the steps again. But you can paste the link here in a number of ways. You can go to Edit, Paste. You can do a Control-V, or you can hold down, I went a little too fast, you can hold down your Alt button again and click Alt button and click in this box, and it will let you paste that link. Click Apply when you're done, and guess what? You are finished. Now, if anybody, like me, or if you shared this with another teacher, if they were to look at your assignment and then click on this picture, it would come up with the link to go right to Albert Einstein's page on biography.com. So, hopefully you're finished. If you want to go back and make any adjustments to your drawing, to this picture, to your text, or anything else, please do so, because the very last thing for today is submitting this assignment. Now, before we actually submit it the way that I want to, or I want you to, I want you to know that you could share this. And I have a few specific students every week who, instead of submitting or turning in Google Classroom, they share it with me because they remember I gave a lesson where we shared things before. That is very possible. You could share it with me, right? You could click here. You could type in my email address right there, and you could share it with me. Alternatively, you could go to your, and I'm going to open this in another tab, you could go to your Gmail, where you could start or compose a new message. And I'm moving a little faster than Google. Come on, Google. You could compose a new message. You could type in my address, and then click on your Google Drive icon right here to attach that assignment to an email. Those are two things that are possible. They're two things that are good to know how to do, because there could come times where you want to do that for a reason. But for today, what we actually want to do is go to Google Classroom. And I have set up a sample right here because this is all just a sample to show you. And it says, attach Google Doc to this assignment. I click on my classwork. I see that was for October 7th. Attach Google Doc to this assignment. Go to classwork. And I'll have this posted in the same way I do in the sample here, where it's under the for October 7th category, and the assignment says attach Google Doc to this assignment. I click it, I click view the assignment, and now I want to click add or create right here. You'll see that there's actually another doc that I used in a sample for other classes, but for our class, it's going to say add or create right here. This is where if a teacher didn't already have something attached for you to use, they didn't already have a document for you to be working in, you could make one from scratch or use something in your Google Drive to turn in. So we're going to click on it, click on our Google Drive. We want to look at our recent assignments, and I see the quote one right here that I've worked on. It's most likely going to be the top thing if you do this all at once. I clicked on Insert, and in just a moment it's going to load, and now I can turn in that assignment by clicking Turn In, confirming that one more time, and ladies and gentlemen, we are finished. My hope is that today I get 100% of 5th through 8th graders turning in that assignment. Now, if yours had some little problem, you spelled something wrong, you couldn't get something to work right, I want you to do your best. I want you to make it the best you can, but you're not going to be in trouble. The main thing I'm looking for is that in completing that quote assignment, right, and doing it to the best of your ability, you then go back to Google Classroom and submit it or turn it in. All right? So, good luck. If you have any questions, you could send me a message or an email or any problems. I'm hoping that everybody does well. Had a good time doing this. It was a nice little project and something that you were successful at. All right? Thank you and take care.